Welcome to the Drop the Needle podcast, your backstage pass to the corporate jungle. I'm your host, Jim Alstott, and here, industry titans step up to the mic, sharing their epic journeys. We're hitting the high notes and the low notes of their careers, creating a symphony of success. This isn't just another interview show, it's where truth bombs are dropped and secrets are revealed. So grab your conductor's baton because who knows, this just might help you compose the next huge hit of your career. Are you ready? Let's go.
That's right.
We're going to get her going.
Again.
Yeah. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Drop the Needle podcast. I'm your host, Jim Alstott, and I'm so happy you all decided to join us. I would like to welcome our guest, Miss Kerry Muller, into the studio today. And Kerry is a sound therapist, an RTT therapist, Reiki master, and certified in crystal and chakra healing modalities. Kerry founded the Subliminal Self, a transformative space dedicated to helping individuals from diverse backgrounds embrace their authentic selves. Kerry takes a multifaceted approach that blends hypnotherapy, psychology, Reiki mastery, crystal healing, chakra balancing, and sound therapy into her practice. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Ms. Kerry Muller. Hey, Kerry.
Hi, everybody, and hi, Jim. It's nice to be on your podcast. Looking forward to this evening. Obviously, me being this evening, based in Qatar at the moment.
Yes. That was something that I neglected to mention. And isn't technology amazing that we can actually do this? You're in Qatar, and I'm in Sugar Grove, Illinois. Hello. So you've got a lot of tools in the toolbox, but we're going to talk about sound therapy today.
Mm-hmm.
And can you maybe explain a little bit as far as how sound therapy actually works?
Sure. So I'm going to explain it the most easiest way to kind of understand it, short and sweet, is that sometimes we refer to sound therapy as sound healing and sound healing as sound therapy. Some places, like obviously where I'm based right now, we can't use the term sound healing.
So it's interchangeable depending upon where you're at.
Depending on where you're at and what your audience is. But basically what it is that we use instruments that let off certain frequencies and vibrations within an environment, and we're creating that environment for your body to go into its natural healing process.
Okay.
That is basically what sound healing is. So
Perfect.
we're shifting your body over into the parasympathetic rest and digest, which it gives it time
the healing
mode. Yeah.
So you mentioned instruments. What types of instruments do you use in your practice?
So, Jim, here's the thing. I think with all sound practitioners or facilitators, we're trained to play everything, but it's what you resonate and what you want to bring out in a certain session. So, for example, and I'm going to just throw a few examples out there. If I walk into, like, for example, a normal session that I do, I'll have a gong with me, I'll have some crystal bowls with me, I'll have maybe 2 Tibetan bowls with me, and some chimes. Okay. Then if I walk into a hospital or a place where you maybe have PTSD, a lot of people that are with PTSD, you kind of then want to try and see maybe not the gong. So you may be then relying on the softer instruments to carry forward that class, because you might have a very different reaction to that, the effect that you're getting off the gong with people's bodies. So
that's actually how you tailor the therapy sessions in terms of the instruments is based on
Correct. So
what the needs are.
correct. So, like, if I'm doing a normal session, so normally I don't know who's walking into my class, right? So, this is why it is so important that we are watching you all the time through a sound session. A lot of people get up there and they like think they're like, and I've watched this. They think that they're DJs, and you're like it's with the instruments. But the thing is that you actually have to watch every single person in that room because they're all responding very differently to the different instruments that you are playing.
Mm,
So
right.
we have to be very mindful of what is going on in everybody else's bodies within the room. Some of them slip in and it's all great. Some of them
Hmm.
come out in like an appreciation. Some of them start to have too much mind chatter going on. It just depends. So
Right.
you are basically in one of those situations, you are sort of tailoring an all round effect. But if you know what your audience is, so for example, you are going into a hospital, you are going into a session with kids, you then
Hmm.
tailoring those certain instruments that you can and you know what to bring in for those certain situations.
That was what I was just going to say. It seems to me that it would be beneficial to you and everyone else if you knew what you were going in for,
Hmm.
right? If you had a specific, um, well, we'll say ailment, but a blockage, whatever
Mm.
you want to call it, and that's when you'll bring in the different instruments, different frequencies, and start to work on them with that. Now, this might seem like a silly question, but do you actually do you touch people with the instruments, or do you just stay away and it's just the vibration and the frequency that travels?
I love that question because I get that a lot. Sometimes people say, did you touch me?" I'm like, "No, I didn't touch you." So sometimes does it feels like
Oh,
that?
it feels like you.
It
Oh, okay,
does,
okay,
it
okay.
does because your skin is the biggest sensory organ on your body, and in a live session, what we call that is you are going to feel those vibrations coming across. That you're going to feel
Okay.
over your body. I normally like to say it's like you're lying on a beach and you know the waves as they kind of hit your body. I sort of describe like for newcomers that are in my class that it's waves kind of rippling over their body. So you can think
Mm,
of that sound and vibration coming off those instruments as waves coming over the body and working those waves like sort of up the body all the way up. And I say to them normally, you sometimes are going to get that wave where it kind of
hmm.
does a double hit, right? And then you kind of feel uneasy and you go, "Oh, that wasn't nice," because as you would be lying on the beach, a double hit of wave and then water in the face is not nice. So it's kind of the same thing with sound. I go, if you ever have that, it's just coming back to your baseline, so back to your breath, because what you do is automatically you freak out, right? You go, "Oh, there's something
Right.
not right here." But the thing is to try and come back to where you feel that safe and security within yourself, and that just
Gotcha.
being aware of why. And that's what I normally say to them is why are you feeling like that? And it's just coming back to the breath. I normally give a breath of 5 in through the nose and 5 out through the mouth to bring
Okay.
them back to baseline.
Okay. Cool. So while you're doing the sessions, the healing sessions, therapy sessions, whatever, wherever we are in the world that we get to call it, whatever it is. But I'm wondering, what are some, I think that what you just mentioned was a common misconception. I was just wondering if there were any big things that come to mind as far as misconceptions or pushback on what the sound healing is.
So when you phrase it to me like that, so misconception, do you want to hear the misconceptions kind of from my side, or do you want to?
From a client side,
Okay,
probably more so because you being the expert,
okay, so uh,
you have your.
okay, so no, so normal things that I get in is you would get people coming in with hearing impairment, right?
Okay.
That's like deaf people, and they say I can't participate in a sound class, and I go, why not? Because you can feel the vibration, right? We've just spoken about that. So even though you can't hear it, you can still feel that vibration. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So
That's cool.
that is cool, right? It's really cool
Yeah.
to be able to do that. And I've actually experienced that with my trainer. She took me to a hearing impaired school where we got to do it for kids, and she did it in front of a group of kids that were hearing impaired. Some didn't even have the devices in their ears, but they could feel everything that came off those crystal balls, which was phenomenal. And
That
they
is.
actually would mark it where it is on the paper, so they get like a sketch of their body and where they feeling that
Oh,
vibration come off.
really?
Yeah, so it's really
That's
cool.
very cool.
Mm.
So you mentioned your instructor. How long, um, how long did you have to study, or how long were you in that educational process before you became certified or comfortable
So
with sound healing?
so in the beginning, I had done just the basics, and the basics is like, I would say, between 1 and 3 months. And then I kind of went on about my thing, but you always, when there's something more. So I said there was
Right.
something more. So I found Danielle Hall, and I'm going to mention her name because she is not just my trainer, she is she's become one of my best friends.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, very, very, very special. And she's very well known. And I joined on to her program, which takes about 6 months to complete. So it's extensive. You're not you don't only just go into the esoteric side of things, you go into the scientific side of things. So where
Mm,
she branches both worlds together, which is really interesting, and also gives you it, when you step out of that program, you then know how to answer the questions. It's not just on an esoteric
hmm.
level, like, oh, I can speak the energy to you, right? Because I'm a Reiki
Right.
master. I can do that. But it's how do you speak the scientific level to people that maybe don't want to hear the esoteric side. They want to hear the science and what it's doing to the body and what it's doing to the brain. What is it doing overall for them? And we have a lot of different people in a lot of different areas. For example, athletes will come up to you and say, okay, what is it doing for me physically? And then you need to be able to answer that, right? You can't just
Gotcha.
say to them, well, you can feel the oneness within yourself. And we would always like to say that, but they'll look
Gotcha.
at you and go, no, that's not what I want to
Well,
hear. So you got to shift,
so
right?
that's a 6 month um, coursework, six
Yeah.
months of coursework and study.
And then you're
And,
still learning
and
afterwards. Yeah.
and is it like an applied class, or is it virtual, or do you actually go into classes, or
So
what? How does that work?
it's virtual, and then she gives practical,
Okay.
which I went to go and do a week with her, like on the ground in the States, where then she at least gives you the opportunity to step into those different areas, which is
Mm,
amazing because other teachers, and I think sometimes other situations that you get is just within the yoga space. This you're getting more
right.
out of.
Right. And that's where the first time I was exposed to sound healing was in a yoga studio, where there is like I belong to I haven't gone in a while because of a sciatic nerve issue, but there's a small studio near my home called Sense of Samadhi. And Wednesday evenings, they have somebody that is a sound therapist or
Mhm.
practitioner that incorporates that into the yoga class. And actually, it's a restorative class, so you're not doing a lot of the asanas and different
Mhm.
moves that are a little bit more intense. This is more relaxing and just getting into that healing mode. And interestingly enough, when we were doing the first time I went, there were like three people that fell asleep during there. And
That's
you
where we
just
give
hear
ourselves a high five. Yes.
you just hear this snort. And I try not to laugh, but I could see it though. I could totally see how that could happen because it is so freaking relaxing. You're just like, oh yeah, I could. then you hear the snoring, like, okay, don't let that be you. Was that me? You start looking around. Like, did I just snore? No, I that was my first exposure. Sorry. No, I know this story because you shared it with me before, but there was a transformative story that you had with one of an athlete. You mentioned an athlete just
Mhm.
a moment ago, where was it an Achilles or a calf injury or something like that?
Achilles tendon, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Can you tell everybody about that? Because this is something. Okay. First and foremost, you think about an athlete, and a lot of athletes are going to go, "Yeah, that's bullshit." Okay. That's just don't try that woo woo stuff on me. Which is why it's. And then I've got a side story about that. But that scientific piece where you can actually incorporate the science behind that, then all of a sudden there's credibility,
Mm,
right? Because you go, oh, it's not me, it's science.
mm.
Science.
It's
It's science.
science. It's energy. It's
Blinded
all
me.
the
It is
same.
blinded me by science. Yes. Um, but go ahead and tell us the the story about
The
the
athlete.
athlete. Yes, please.
Okay. So, athlete is an Olympic football player. And when I say football player, I obviously don't mean American football. I mean the European football because we always get that confused. So, soccer, we call it in South Africa soccer.
Yes.
So, she had, yeah, it was, I think it was a tear in the Achilles, and she had to sit out for the Olympics. So, that
Oh
was
wow.
that was
That
pretty tough
sucks.
on her. I think on a not just on a physical but on a mental level for
Oh
an
yeah.
athlete that prepares for so long, right?
Their
Um,
entire life to get there.
yeah, and I'm sure she'll be able to do it again because she is a phenomenal lady. And this is something that I completely admire about athletes. They just have this determination and grit, like you cannot believe.
Oh
And
hell yeah.
she rocked up into one of my sound sessions the one evening, where all the snoring, it goes on.
Yes.
And it's like I said, we normally give ourselves a high five when somebody falls asleep because, that's in Delta. And we want
That's
everybody to go to
awesome.
Delta. So she came in and she said, she got up afterwards. And I remember coming to me and she says, hi. And I said, hi. And she's like, do you do private sessions? And I said, yes, I do. And she says, well, I've got this Achilles thing now. And she says, but after that drum, she's like, I don't know what happened, but she says, the foot's different. So I said, okay. I said, no problem. I said, we'll book you in. And I said, you can come to me and let's see what we can do. So
Right.
when I tailor sessions to, for example for that, then
Mhm.
I'll use different solfeggio frequencies, different types of instruments because we kind of want to take the pain out. We want to get the cellular repair to start to, uh, the cells to repair themselves, to regenerate themselves. So that would be a 258 or 285, and then a 528. That's the other one, and then we do a 174 hertz. Those are your solfeggios. So when I talk about that, so I'll take her through a short sound session that's pumped in with noise and frequency. So not like a
Okay.
journey where I take you across music over with sound. Okay, so they're completely
Mm,
two different things. So this
okay.
one I kind of bring down just the frequency and noises. And
Hmm.
then when they come in, like for example, her case, we use other instruments. Like I bought these today to show you.
Oh, perfect.
We have tuning
Tuning forks.
forks, correct.
Right.
So as you can see, and our listeners won't be able to see, but you can see there's two very different tuning forks that I'm holding up right now.
Hmm.
One that has got like two straight sides to it, and one which has bulges on, right?
Looks like little mallets.
Yeah. So the difference is that this one with the little mallets is the one that we actually use to tune into the body. So if I hit,
Holy shit.
that's what we inject directly into the body.
Okay. Nobody had any accidents if they're driving, right?
No.
Like, oh, holy shit. Yeah,
Okay, so that one, because it's like, it's really, so it's soft on the ears. When we do it in a session, you can barely hear it, but it is that strong that it goes straight into where you need to. So we allocate it in certain areas, okay? And then you get these ones, which obviously now we can hear. I can hear through
yeah.
the earphones, right? So that one we kind of utilize within space. We don't use these on body. So if I'm recording a track, I will put one of these in, or I'll use it within the space, because this is kind of more subtle body epigenetics. We call it biotuning work that we do with these frequencies.
Oh yes, biotuning.
Biotuning, which is a whole different. So it's like a lot of hats within inside the sound therapy thing. But anyway, she came and we did a whole bunch of session. Well, did two sessions with the tuning forks plus the added frequency. And she got up after the one and she's like, she just put a full weight on her foot and she's like, "What did you do?" And I said, "Well," I said, that's the frequency. I said, "Don't look at me." I said, and this is what we normally say, don't look at us. We're not the people that do the healing.
The healing, it's
no,
you.
It's the frequency, and it's your body. Yeah.
Right.
It's not us. We're just directing it where it needs to go, right? And she had a session. She could put her full weight, and then I gave her a track to listen to on a binaural level, and then she came for me, just on a side note, for hypnotherapy, and she's been able to put her full. When she came back to come and have her, they do a whole bunch of tests. Her doctor actually said inflammation had gone down. She was able to put a whole, because they've got to put a lot of force on that to start training. And she said she was also really, really conflicted about that in her headspace, because she didn't want to, kind of have all of this, because it becomes trauma. So she didn't want to have all of this again. So, then they're very careful, but you've got to, get back on the horse once you fall off it again, in order to kind of bypass that. So, she said that after the two sessions she had, she could put full weight back on it. And then after the hypnotherapy session, she's been winning. So I checked in with her the other day, and she's back on track, and she's training again, and it's awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I have a couple more questions, then I want to get into our musical questions. But as far as we mentioned science behind it, what are we talking about as it relates to science? I mean, what scientific research, I guess, supports the effectiveness of sound therapy?
So I suppose, there has been a lot of case studies done for sound, and there's still ongoing studies. I don't think anybody would say, like they say that there is, and then there is not. So, but frequency has been around for centuries. And also when we go back to actually what they use in hospitals to break up kidney stones, we're talking about frequency again. So yes, it does work.
Right.
Another one to use is cymatics. And cymatics is that manipulation of what happens to that when frequency is introduced into either sand on a flat space of metal, and you hit it with frequency, and it creates all those different shapes. The same as water. When you hit water with frequency, right? So that is cymatics. And when we talk about cymatics, if you can see that happening in water, we go, okay, so if that is happening in water and your body is 80 to 90% water, including that of the cells, then you start to, this is what I always say, you start to think of how huge that actually is. If that is what it's doing to water and to sand, how is this actually doing to your body? So we do know, and science has proved it, that it does a lot of things to the physical body by, number one, the chemicals that it starts to get the brain to produce for example, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins.
The happy chemicals.
Happy in the low of drug.
Mm-hmm.
It lowers the cortisol level, so that's your stress. And
Love that.
That will also help with the sleeping with people that struggle with insomnia as well. Yeah, so it also raises level of melatonin as well in the body. So it does a lot. There are a lot of studies to prove that what chemicals are released within the brain when we're listening to also different types of music, not just sounds, right? So it can just be music in general will also do that. And
that's how people could probably incorporate sound therapy into their daily routine, is by finding out whether it be solfeggio or
100%.
whatever. It could be popular music that has that frequency and the beat and the rhythm that gets their whatever, their day going. So
100%.
That's very cool. That's very cool. Yeah, I like that. Being so well, I went to school for music, and music being such a big part of my life, I absolutely am fascinated by sound healing, sound therapies, and not only the I guess the woo-woo pieces of that, but the scientific pieces of that, because I just think it's amazing, because I've seen they have YouTube videos of sand and what it does when it's hit with a certain frequency on that metal plate, and water and everything. And so if anybody is interested in seeing that in action, you could experiments with sound frequencies and whatever, water, sand, blah blah blah, it doesn't matter,
because it's changing the molecular structure of the water. So it's changing. I always say sound manipulates your cellular makeup. So that's why your immune system, you have a better immune system, you have a better digestive system, you have a better respiratory system after attending a lot of these sound therapy sessions or listening to a lot of different frequency. So there has been, I've seen it myself. People that come in with a terrible constipation, and then all of a sudden they run out of my class, and I'm like, okay, well, I did something wrong. And then all of a sudden you look, and they come back and they go, it's the first time I've been in 3 days. And I go, what? 3 days? I'm like, okay. Wow. But that's kind of what it's doing. So it's manipulating everything within the body. That is what sound is doing. Quite amazing.
It is. It truly is. I'm just thinking about a million questions that I have, but obviously we only have so much time to talk about this. But we can come back to do this again. But so right now, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go into our musical questions. So as anyone can tell you that's ever listened to the podcast before, this is a section when I ask the guest, which I'm going to ask Kerry, some musical questions. And this is pillar 3 of our show. And as I mention regularly, music is a tie that binds. And I believe everyone has a soundtrack that accompanies their life if they just take a moment to think about it. So, are you ready for your musical questions?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so, because it's like, it is hard. And this is what it is something like music is one of those things where, something to you could be really powerful, but to others it can be cringe.
Oh, sure.
So I'm not like,
well, it's okay. Who cares? This is you. This is all about you and nobody else. So it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter. So here we go. Question number 1. What was the first song you fell in love with from the radio, or one that you heard and remember saying, oh, I can't wait to hear that one again? And you're like scrambling up and down you're probably much younger than me, but the scrambling up and down the dial trying to find that song
on the radio. And I was in that time. So I'm not mentioning age here, but I was also that time.
Okay.
I can remember my first radio that I actually got, and I asked my parents, "Can I please have the tape to Michael Jackson, Smooth Criminal?" And they were just like,
Sweet.
"What?" And I'm like, "Yes, I want to listen
That's
to Smooth
sweet.
Criminal."
Love it. I love that. That's awesome. Smooth Criminal. Michael Jackson.
Are you okay,
Off the
Annie?
Bed album.
Yes,
Off
yes.
the Bed album. That's very cool. Good one. You're actually, so you're the first one that has done Smooth Criminal. When I was asked those questions, I did Man in the Mirror. That was the only other Michael Jackson song.
Yes.
Did your family have a song that everyone would belt out on road trips or vacations when you're growing up? That's question number 2.
Okay, so question number 2, interesting one, because we had a very wild dynamic in our family. Dad was like Beatles, Beach Boys, Eagles, so like Hotel California. I mean, that one was one, okay. And then mom was, like I said, she brought like obviously the Cher into the game, Madonna into the game. So we would be doing Cher, Madonna in the car. And then we'd be back.
So it was masculine, feminine battles back and forth there.
Ooh, like you cannot believe. So we were exposed to all of it in the car on the way down to holidays in Cape Town. And then we got to my gran, and then it was all about the Nutcracker and Tchaikovsky and Swan Lake. Yes, Swan Lake, yeah. So she brought the culture into the family.
That's very cool, though. It's interesting how that happens, because I can say the same thing happened in my family too. So very cool. So how about we go to, I don't know, in South Africa, if like what the education system looks like, if you do like elementary school, middle school, high school, but if you were in the early teen, let's just go to high school. Okay. So in high school, what was the song that you were belting out?
So there were 2, and I'm going to say in high school, because this is just a share, and if anybody connects with me on this, devils, because I just never, Jim, I did not fit in. Like, I did not fit in with the rebels. I didn't fit in with the cool kids. I was kind of on my own.
The tweener?
Yeah, yes, that. And it makes it so hard, because you ask yourself as a kid, what makes me so different, that, I'm not the same as everybody else, that I can't be in these groups, to define me. So yeah, I would say that the 2 songs that I would have gone with was Train, Drops of Jupiter, because that was what I used to listen to. Great song. And then obviously I got one for you, Britney Spears, Hit Me Baby One More Time.
Oh, Britney.
Like during high school, that was like I actually vowed like not to buy an album, and then I did.
That's awesome. That's great. That's good stuff.
Yeah. So those were the 2 songs. But because Britney back then, it was sort of when I was hitting, I think 16, there roundabout, and that whole persona that she portrayed in that song, in the music video, it was like, ooh, I could rock this. Yeah. And but obviously it did not rock that at school. We tried.
Well, there's another side coming out.
We always, but this is it. You look at other people, right? And you think, because that is what is shown. And so you go, well, maybe, this could be me. I
think that happens with artistic people quite a bit. They envision themselves. Well, probably, I guess I just gravitate towards the artistic because that was me. But I can relate very well to what you were saying about the fitting in type of thing, because there was the whole athlete group, and then there was the whole band group, and then there was the whole choir group. I did those 3 things. So it was not a popular thing to
to do back when I was in high school was the band. I don't know if it is today or not. Depends on the band and depends on the school. But being in band, we got called all sorts of names. Band, F words, because I don't think we could call it was the British name for cigarettes back then. A fag. You're gonna have a fag.
Yeah.
And that's not cool. But
No.
you know what? I guess there was a part or a group of the band members that would almost take it as a badge of honor. Yep, that's me. Yeah, that's me. And same thing with choir. But yeah, it's a different music because it'd be listening to Gino Vanelli with the band guys, or Quincy Jones.
Yes.
Those Q was a big person that we listened to. And then with the athletes, it was like Motley Crue, Bon Jovi, Night Ranger, all of those people. So I'll go into another question. Did your musical tastes change after high school while you were in college?
Yes, they did. Big time.
Let's hear it.
So it's when you gave me this homework to do, obviously to have a look at all these questions, and I'm going to say this, like, I walked out and closed the door, and I just stood in the middle of our TV lounge, and I just started to sob. And my husband said, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "That was so emotional." He's like, "You just had to ask some questions. Jim only asked you some questions." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I've literally seen my life on a piece of paper from what I have been through, and the music tells a story. It tells the story of my whole life." And that is what was so profound in that moment, was when when you asked me that, like, I can clearly see the difference of how my family life in the beginning, before all the sort of upheavals came in with my mom and dad not having a great relationship, to that of when I was in college and then they had gotten divorced and I didn't have anybody to speak to. My brother got the people to speak to. I did not. Being the oldest, I think sometimes you get put in a different category sometimes.
Rub some dirt on it, you're fine.
You're okay. And I was not okay. So from I went into like the deep dark, like Evanescence, and you've got your AC/DC, and you chuck in some more heavy metal there. I was in there's a place in South Africa that I actually used to go to. Like, you would have your rave clubs and then you would have your heavy metal clubs, and I would alternate between the two.
Really?
So yeah, sometimes I would go and do like trance, house, and just get that, like, I think the dance side of things, like, got a lot of the frustration out.
Yeah, I was just going to say, dance the frustration out of yourself.
Yeah, and then you would go and enter into the heavy metal parts, and where you're in the metal parts or the rock parts, and you're in the mosh pits, and then you're just like, just like, duking it out with everybody else. And it's all in love, because I mean, you turn around and this is just the thing, is when people actually go, "You were in a mosh pit," and you go, "Yeah," but it's a different kind of. It's funny how
vibe,
it's a different vibe, because people go, "It's aggressive," and you go, but if you actually step back, those people are kind of going through similar emotions as you are right then.
Yep. Birds of a feather.
Yep,
right.
Flock together.
Flock together. Yeah.
So
it really is true.
Yeah. So between the two, I was kind of in that. Yeah. Those ups and downs in college, and it was like also Amy Winehouse was another one. James Blunt was another one. Like, really, like,
tortured souls.
Ooh. And then I come out the other side of that. I dated a few musicians that was interesting. And I think that my dad always never understood that, because I was a creative myself. I was studying my BA in visual art at that stage, I just, I flocked with the musicians. So I found that amazing to be around music the whole time, because that was my solace, even when I was a youngster. And And now I just got immersed into it and kind of disappeared into my own world when they were actually playing. Either I was dating the bass guitarist or
Hmm.
I was dating the drummer. Um, so
Oh, that's
this just
interesting. You talk about frequencies, and you know what I mean. In
yeah.
some of the things that you use right now, as far as the instruments for the therapies and
Mm.
the healing that you use, the lower frequencies and vibrations. Yeah,
And
very
that's
cool.
actually it. Yeah, drum resonates with me hugely. I love to play drum, and gong. I look back there. I always look at my gongs. My gong, so I've got big, like three big ones, and I
Hmm.
love that. But I also like
That's
to
cool.
crack it, so you can actually get
Yeah, get
nice
it
and
going,
hard
and then
on a gong, and yeah, cha, and it's that, and it's exactly what you're
at the
saying.
climax. Yeah,
That
yep,
that kind of that crescendo is
yep.
like where my jam is at. It's like up there, and then as soon as I got to bring it down, it's like, oh, it's over. Like I get the sad part when I'm doing this session because I'm like, okay, now we've got to lower it down back
I
again.
can see. I was in, as I mentioned, band, but I was a percussionist, so I know exactly what you're referring to. I remember in one of the pieces that we did, I don't know if it was spring, it might have been spring for Rites of Spring,
Mm-hmm.
and I was playing the gong, and it was like that where you're building it up. You start building it up, not a minute before, but
Mm-hmm.
it takes you a little while to get that thing where it's going to go, so you can time it just right. So it's like this sonic explosion,
Yeah.
and then you have to quiet it down really quickly after that too. So I remember trying to use the mallet and my hand, and it actually cut my finger because the metal was vibrating so much when I
On
grabbed
the
it.
yeah on the side. Oh
Yes.
wow.
Yeah, it cut my finger. Yeah, that's interesting. Sorry.
No, that's
As I
amazing
digress.
because that's how we play them. So
Hmm.
the fact that and that's also it just sends me back to another misconception is that if people think that they need a musical background to play the instruments or to become a sound practitioner. They don't. And like for
Right.
example, like you have a music background and you can see
Hmm.
you know how to utilize those instruments. So it's just again getting the right studying, um, and learning how to play those instruments accordingly within those sessions.
Right.
um, and yeah, I mean, look at
That's
you.
cool.
You play a gong and you cut your finger and you say, yeah, it's because I
Yeah.
had to grip it, and that's exactly how we play it. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's epic.
So the next question I have is kind of where you are today. In that, what is the song that best describes you or your journey currently?
Where am I in my journey? I am in the thing is that, and it's really interesting because someone said this to me the other day, and it kind of hit home because I am a constant one for learning and picking up another hat. Like you
Yeah,
just
I am
mentioned,
too.
all those hats that I put on, right? And now I'm going to be studying for my clinical psychology next year, and I'm just going. My friend actually said, "When does it stop? Like
Ah,
when do you
I
stop
had that.
learning?"
I had I I had that thrown at me yesterday. So
So
very
you see,
interesting. Yeah.
it's something that's coming up a lot, and it's like
When is done done? When is done done?
exactly. But I think
Uh,
I just
don't
I,
have an answer.
no, but this is just it. Is you sit there and you go, there's so much information out there, um, and it's not necessarily to learn it all, but it's to understand it. And that there's
Right.
so many different perspectives on how people put information across. And I think that's where I'm at right now is that I used to come on, especially within, let's say, conversation. I used to come on pretty strong with people and I would just want my,
Hmm.
say. Everybody wants their say.
Hmm.
And that's due to my stuff that happened, back as a kid. I never had the
Sure.
space to say, here I am. So now I kind of have, it's almost like I compensate. And
Okay.
my journey right now is having to sit back, which has been actually quite beautiful, sitting back and just listening to other people and observing.
So what's your
And
song then? Let's hear what's your song?
my song is This Is Me from The Greatest Showman, because that
Cool.
is my authentic self. I am starting to step into who I am, and I'm okay with that. And it doesn't matter if I don't say things out of ill intent to anybody, or because
Hmm.
we are, when we say healers, right? We're in this holistic
Right.
modality for a reason. But at the same time, the more we learn, I find the more we learn about ourselves, that awareness, this is me.
Hmm.
We kind of also have those people that kind of move out of our circle. And that's kind of where I'm
Right.
at, is that every time I put on that song, I go, but this is me. So whatever's supposed to be a line for me right now in the moment, this is for
Hmm.
me. This is
That's cool.
me. And if it's not, it's okay. And
Right.
and that's what's really strong for me. It doesn't matter what people say. I've gotten over to the point of what people are saying, what people are doing. It's kind of now just sit back, watch, accept, understand, go, and just carry on. And you can share the love, but what does my mom say? She said to me the other day something really cool. She said, "Don't be a weirdo, be awesome." And I'm like,
Oh, there you go.
that is perfect. Don't be a weirdo, be awesome. And that is that song. It's This Is Me. So you don't have to be weird. You can just be awesome and accept you who you are. And
Yeah,
that
authentic,
song. Yeah,
authentically
authentic self.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that's where what's there was a song, can't please everyone, so you got to please yourself.
Mm, yeah.
You can't please. Yeah, I think. Oh, who was it? Ricky Nelson, I think, is the one. Is a Garden Party, I think, is
Garden
the name of
Party.
the song.
Yes, yes.
I think that's the name of the song.
Mm,
I found you can't please everyone, so you got to please yourself.
self. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's some real truth to that.
Mm.
And speaking of real truth, I've got the last question for you as it relates to music. There are songs that you hear that ring so true
Yeah.
they can stop you in your tracks.
Yeah.
The lyrics of the song sound like they were either written specifically for you or by you. What's the song and what are the lyrics to that song?
So this one's a nice one, because I had a certain, like I said, we were just talking about perspectives. I had a certain outlook on this song, and my husband keeps on singing it around the house. It's Never Enough, also by The Greatest Showman. It's I think Alfred Lauren that sings it, and it is the chorus is never enough. And I was just like, I was bamboozled that he was singing this, like, never enough, never enough. And I'm like, how can you possibly say, like, you're never enough? I mean, let's get real here. I said, listen to the lyrics that you're actually singing. And he's like, but he says, he just stopped me in my tracks and he said, but do you actually know what the lyrics are? And he says, do you know her backstory? And I'm like, no. So I went to go look, because being, sometimes we're a little bit like naive before we like go into a confrontation or a discussion, and we got no backing. So that's kind of what I had done with me. And so I went to go on YouTube quickly, and then I saw her story, and she came out was beautiful. The fact that she had done this whole song, and she had let them use her voice in the movie, but she didn't step forward as being the person that sang it. And then she appeared on X Factor, and she said, I'm the voice behind the song. And everybody was like, nah. And then she sang it, and you going, what? And then
wow.
That took me, and then I was in tears. And then he pulled up the lyrics, and my husband said this to me. He says, I'm just going to grab it quickly. I think it is. I'm trying to hold my breath, let it stay this way. Can't let this moment and you set off the dream in me getting louder now. Can you hear it echoing? Take my hand, will you share this with me? Because, darling, without you, all the shine of 1,000 spotlights, all the stars we steal from the night sky will never be enough. And I was like, oh. And
To
I was
replace you.
that was a heartfelt, because like
Yeah.
he kind of was singing that because he says that's the way that I feel about you. And I was like, so that's now that song I will play quite often now, because now my perspective has
see
changed
that.
of that song, and now I play it quite often because it now reminds me of something that we had a debate over, but he
Sure.
came with such a like
A
like
different
from such a
perspective.
perspective in
A
a different
softer
place,
perspective than you
of
originally
love,
thought.
and like I can't do this without you, and like all
What
your
the hell?
feels, and you go, what the hell is going on? Like,
How dare you do that to me?
exactly.
You
So
ambushed me. You ambushed me with love, damn you.
yeah,
That's
that would
good.
be my
Good stuff.
favorite one at the moment,
I love
because
that.
it's from him as well, so it's pretty special.
Awesome. So I've got to take a quick break here as far as the questions are concerned, because I want to let everybody in on a little something. In the introduction, I had mentioned that Kerry does hypnotherapy too. Well, she's agreed to do this to me, to hypnotize me during a podcast. So we're going to do that. And what we'll probably end up doing, just so everyone knows, is we'll probably end up having to edit it, because I don't know. I have no idea how long it takes to get into that that trance state, whatever you want to call it. But I wanted to let everybody know I just let the cat out of the bag by saying that. But we're going to do that. I just think it's so cool. Number one, I'm one of those people that doesn't think that can necessarily be hypnotized or anything. And I'm not going to try to be belligerent about it. I just have never been hypnotized, so I don't know what to expect. So I'll probably be doing a little research on that before it happens. But I'm looking forward to it, and I think everybody else should be looking forward to that as well. Speaking of well, it's just about time to cue the music for today's episode. But don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Drop the Needle podcast to stay up to date on our latest episodes. I'd also like to take a moment to thank everyone again for tuning in today, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Drop the Needle podcast. I'd also like to thank our special guest, Kerry Muller, for being on our show today. So, Kerry, thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody out there. Thank you, Jim. It's been amazing. Thank you.
I love this. So how can folks get in touch with you again?
So they can get in touch with me. I do have a website at www.thesubliminalself.com, and on there you can also link to my Instagram account, which is the.subliminalself.
Awesome.
And people can just drop me a DM, or they can send me an email via the website, and I'll get back to them ASAP if they have any questions.
Cool. Well, I invite you to head on over to our show notes. And the reason I'm going to do that, and I do that all the time, there's a link to the playlist from today's episode that you'll be able to click on and go right to it. And that's on Spotify. You'll also find links to Kerry's socials and her websites. I'm going to make sure that that's in there, because she can do all of this virtually, which is super cool. It's just so super
Very cool.
I'm going to do that, and I would urge everyone to take a look at that. All right, my Drop the Needle posse, like Billy Joel says, from the highs to the lows to the end of our show, this is the end of our show. Until next time, this is Jim Alstott wishing you infinite health and happiness and the perfect playlist for your life. Thank you again for being the best part of us. Catch you next time.